Hey, what's going on? Good evening, y'all. Good evening, y'all. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So tonight I wanted to talk about a subject that often be talked about every single conversation, especially when you get to know a person. And that is horoscope. Zodiac signs. And why? Because the first thing people would ask when it comes to your zodiac sign, what sign are you? And based off that sign, they want to determine your personality, right? Okay. So I have a book right here. But wait, I'm not finished yet. I have a book. And I'm going to tell you guys my sign. As you can see, it says Tiffany the Virgo. I am a Virgo, right? But let's talk about what zodiac sign means according to this book. So this book right here is called The Secret of Sign and Symbols, which is the Elements Encyclopedia. Okay? So where's the zodiac? Watch this. The true zodiac is a conceptual division of space into 12 equal segments, which radiate out from the ecliptic that is the apparent path of the sun, right? However, the zodiac also refers to the 12 constellations of stars that nowadays symbolize different human personality traits. The term zodiac has Greco-Roman origins and means circles of animals, although these signs are not restricted to zoological beasts, but encompasses human forms too. So the Chinese zodiac bears no relationship to any constellation. So it says the zodiac is both a symbol in its own right as well as a collection of symbols. These symbols are totems for each of the 12 astrological signs. It is a circle of completion, a continually turning wheel divided into a spiritually perfect number 12. Each of the different segments expresses a phase of development in the cycle of the universe as well as in humankind collectively and for each individual secularly, right? But then it goes on to say, if we assume the stars that forms the constellation have always been there, then the actual origin of the zodiac are open to conjecture. Manly P. Hall states one author believes man's concept of zodiac to be 5 million years old, although the identity of this author is not given. However, it is probably safe to say that the zodiac as we know it today has its origin in ancient Babylonia, although this antique zodiac consists of 18 segments. All right, so that's according to that information, right? So what we know about zodiac is at that time supposed to represent the constellation of the stars, right? The 12 constellations. All right. That's what we know about the zodiacs. But let's get into my zodiac. Tiffany the Virgo. I get this question all the time. People ask me, what is your zodiac sign? I'm a Virgo. Oh, you a Virgo? For real? Yeah, I'm a Virgo. I know y'all like my new glasses. But anyways, people always ask me, are you a Virgo? Yeah, I'm a Virgo. Y'all Virgo something else. Well, let's see what this book got to say about the Virgos. So, polarity, right? Negative, female, qualities, mutual, ruling planet, Mercury, element, Earth, body parts, solar palace and bowels. Interesting. Color dark brown, green. Although green is one of my favorite colors. But anyway, gemstones, sardonyx, metal, mercury, or nickel, flowers, brightly colored small flowers, trees, nut bearing tree, herbs and spices, turmeric, saffron, and all others with a strong yellow color. Food, vegetables that grow in the ground. Animals, domestic pets, countries, New Zealand, the West Indies, Turkey, and Greece. And cities, Brazil. Oh no, I'm sorry, cities, Paris, Athens, Heidelberg, and Boston. That's pretty interesting. But what they got to say about my zodiac sign? Where did the name Virgo really come from? So, despite her name, over the course of the millennia, since the sign of zodiac were first defined, Virgo has been portrayed as the prudish virgin, the wanton temptress, and all other aspects of the feminine. In between these two extremes, she has been identified as many different goddesses. For the Romans, she was Ceres, holding a sheaf of corn, symbol of fertility and harvest. Virgo also appears at the time that the crops are being gathered together. Egyptian linked her with Isis and with Isis and Ma'at, the goddess of truth. All of the names for Virgo refer to her as the virgin or the maiden. Right. And then a Greek legend links Virgo to Astrea, the goddess of truth and virtue who lived with the other immortals among human beings on earth. So that's where Virgo come from, right? But watch this. The glyph. The glyph of Virgo links it with the signs for Scorpio and Libra and has also been proposed to stand for MV, Maria Virgo, referring back to the Virgin Mary. Interesting. Sometimes the final loop of the triple arts is depicted as the fish or visa Pisces shape that symbolize the world of spirit entering the world of matter and further underlines the connection with the Christian version or Christian virgin at that. But it's interesting. You know, Christians, they don't really get too caught up in zodiac signs. They don't really believe in zodiac signs, which is quite interesting though, right? But you know, to those who are spiritualists, if you will, when they read the Bible, they say that the concept of zodiacs are mentioned as the 12 constellation in the Bible when you read in the Old Testament. But that's interesting. So here are the qualities of a Virgo. Ruled by the element of earth are tranquility, discrimination, efficiency, grace, and intelligence. Some self-control and self-discipline add to the equation as well as methodological diligence and tidiness. Virgo is a spiritual sign, and this has been shown by depicting her with the wings that signify ascension of the soul. Appearing during the time of the harvest, Virgo is maternal, fertile, nurturing, and prepared for whatever might come her way. Mm. So, and you can find it in this book right here, right? But wait a minute, I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished because there's more that we gotta get into, right? There's more we gotta get into. Perhaps, perhaps we really don't know where the concept of the horoscope has intertwined with personality. So, how is it that the horoscope determines people's personality? Hmm. Well, let's find out. Let's look this term up. Maybe, just maybe, some of y'all might be familiar, some of you are not familiar with this terminology, right? This was called Barnum Effect. The Barnum Effect, also called the Fourier Effect, or less commonly the Barnum Fourier Effect, is a common psychological phenomenon whereby individuals give high accuracy ratings to description of their personality that supposedly are tailored specifically to them, yet which are in fact vague and general enough to apply to a wide range of people. This effect can provide a partial explanation for widespread acceptance of some paranormal beliefs and practices such as astrology, fortune telling, aurora reading, and some types of personality tests. And watch this. These categorizations are often used by practitioners as a con technique to convince victims that they are endowed with a paranormal gift. Because the assessment statements are so vague, people ascribe their own interpretation, thus the statement become personal to them. Also, individuals are more likely to accept negative assessments of themselves if they perceive the person presenting the assessment as a high status professional. Now, let's start right there. I have been a victim of that. And I'm going to be honest. And in a way, I still am a victim after knowing what the terminology was. I'm a victim of it because I have convinced myself to want to believe that, yeah, this actually fits me. And I could agree with some of it, but not all of it. But then, it's just so ironic that the generalization, because somebody's a Virgo, that every Virgo is supposed to act the same, right? And that's not necessarily true. Every person that is a Virgo cannot act the same because there's different characteristic traits that these individuals have, or each individual have of their own. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense that because everybody is the same sign that they all got to act the same way. That's ludicrous, right? But we get so caught up in it because it's the fascination behind it. It's the enthusiasm that we love. But we don't really realize that this was used as a con game, as a way to manipulate people. The greatest con of them all, right? The greatest con of them all. But watch this. And see, you got those who claim to be scholarly, right? They use zodiac signs or use the horoscope to try to bring some form of manipulation. But they don't tell you exactly where it comes from. They don't tell you that. But watch this. I ain't finished. Researcher Bertram Fourier originally named it the fallacy of personal validation. The term Barnum Effect was coined in 1956 by psychologist Paul Melindi or Malihil in his essays Wanting a Good Cookbook because he relates the vague personality description used in certain pseudo-successful psychological tests to those given by showman P.T. Barnum. And for those of you who don't know who P.T. Barnum is, we're going to talk a little bit about him, but let me show you what he looked like. P.T. Barnum. This guy right here. Yeah, this interesting guy. That's who it was named after. It was named after him. But what did he do for a living? Let's just look at it just real quick. Just give a little synopsis on him. So let's get into who was P.T. Barnum. Let's talk about this man real quick, bruh. Let's talk about him real quick. Here it is. So P.T. Barnum, right? His name was Phineas Taylor Barnum. Okay. And he was an American showman, businessman, politician, remembered for promoting and celebrating horses and founding the Barnum and Bailey Circus with James Anthony Bailey. He was also an author, publisher, and philanthropist, although he said of himself, I am a showman by profession, and all the gliding shall make nothing else of me. All right. According to Barnum critics, his personal aim was to put money in his own coffers. The Ajay, there's a sucker born every minute, has frequently been attributed to him, although no evidence exists that he had indeed coined the phrase. Right? So it goes on to talk about he was a politician, right? And not only he was a politician, but he was also a showman. Okay. So going down here, it basically speaks on the fact that he served 2 terms in Connecticut as a legislator in 1865 as a Republican for Fairfield, Connecticut. He spoke before the legislature concerning the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which also abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. A human soul that God has created and Christ died for is not to be trifled with. It may tenant the body of a Chinaman, a Turk, an Arab, or an Hottentot. It is still an immoral spirit, right? So he was elected in 1875 as mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, where he worked to improve the water supply, bring gas lighting to streets, and enforce liquor and prostitution laws. Interesting. So let's get into the concept of how he became a showman and brought about promotion. So Barnum had a year of mixed success with his first variety troupe troupe. Sorry. Barnum's grand scientific and musical theater, followed by the Panic of 1837 and 3 years of difficult circumstances. He purchased the Shutters American Museum in 1841, located at Broadway and Ann Street in Manhattan, and renamed it Barnum's American Museum. He improved it, upgrading the building and adding exhibits. All right. So, anyways, basically, this is where the concept of Barnum Effects come from. Watch this. And down here it says author and debunker. So Barnum wrote several books, including The Life of P.T. Barnum, The Humbugs of the World, Struggles and Triumphs, Forest and Jungle, or Thrilling Adventures in All Quarters of the Globe, and The Art of Money Getting. Money Getting. Oh, Barnum was often called the Prince of Humbugs and felt that entertainers and vendors perpetuating or penetrating hoaxes or humbugs in promotional material were justified if the public received value in return. However, he was contemptuous of those who accrued money through fraud, especially the spiritualist mediums popular in his day. He testified against noted spirit photographer William H. Muller in his trial for fraud, and he exposed the tricks employed by mediums to cheat the bereaved. The the humbugs of the world, Barnum offered $500, which is equivalent to $9,559 in 2022, to any medium who could prove the power to communicate with the dead. Wow, that's interesting. Wait a minute. He was a debunker. But the reason why it was named after him because he was known for putting on a horse. But he was a debunker because down here at the bottom it says any medium who could prove the power to communicate with the dead. That's funny, right? That's quite funny. Mighty strange. Mighty strange. Mighty strange, right? But let's see. But let's see, why do we believe in the horoscope? Why do we believe in the horoscopes? Here's an article. Here's the article. Why do you believe in horoscopes? Why? Why are you so fascinated with it? Why do we believe our horoscopes? The Barnum Effect explained. So basically, the Barnum Effect, also commonly referred to as the Fourier Effect, describes when individuals believe that generic information, which could apply to anyone, applies specifically to themselves. Now, where this bias occur, example of the Barnum effects are everywhere. Have you read your daily horoscope and noticed how strangely accurate the prediction was? After all, you did receive words of wisdom and reconnect with an old friend today, just as co-star said you would. Even though it is well known that horoscopes are intentionally vague to appeal to as many people as possible, some are still amazed at how perfectly these descriptions apply to themselves. The Barnum effect tricks us into believing that a particular horoscope was meant for us, just for us, encouraging us to find non-existent parallels between the text and our own lives. Beyond astrology, people working in the quote unquote new age profession, such as tarot card readers, magicians, and psychics, are notorious for employing the Barnum effect to convince customers of their prediction. Now, ain't that something? Ain't that something? Damn. We become a victim to this. Watch this. The individual effects. The Barnum effect becomes dangerous when it infers with our decision making, believing that general information applies directly to ourselves, prevent us from being able to logically analyze our option and choose the best outcome possible. For example, what if you refuse to date someone because of their zodiac sign was not compatible with your own? Or what if you refuse to leave the house because your horoscope foresaw tragedy in your impending future? If we trust these vague predictions too much, they can change the course of our lives by steering us clear of decisions we would otherwise make. Individual. Now let's look at systemic effect. Watch this. Within an organization, the Barnum effect may determine how willing employees are to accept or reject feedback. As explained below, we are more likely to believe that positive generalization or generalized statements apply to us. This means that when a manager applauds their team for their good work, employees may be inclined to proudly accept the compliment, even if their boss is not referring specifically to them. Conversely, we are restrained to negative generalized statements and often refuse to see them as applied to us. Due to this tendency, employees may find it difficult to incorporate criticism when a manager offers constructive feedback to their team, choosing to believe it applies to everyone else but not to themselves. With this in mind, higher ups may want to prioritize providing individual feedback to each employee to guarantee they will accurately relate the feedback to themselves rather than amplifying their achievements or brushing off their shortcomings. So let's go down to why it happens. The Barnum effect is a very common phenomenon resulting from our natural tendency to attach personal meaning to general statements. It's rooted in another cognitive bias known as subjective validation, sometimes referred to as the validation effect. Subjective validation is when we consider information to be correct if it has personal significance because we subconsciously identify a relationship between two unrelated events. Like subjective validation, the Barnum effect results from taking a vague statement and finding meaning specific to ourselves by connecting completely separate entities. Right? Interesting enough, the Barnum effect seems to happen most often with positive statements. For example, we are more likely to think our horoscope is accurate if it contains positive information. On the other hand, this means that we are typically more skeptical of critical statements and are less likely to think they pertain to us. So if our horoscope points out any personality flaws about our zodiac sign, we might brush it off as being nonsense. And why is it so important? By being aware of this effect, we can be attentive to any potential scenarios where we could be easily influenced and think twice before applying vague information to ourselves. For example, those who are skeptical of horoscopes and wary of psychic advice tend to not let these predictions dictate their lives and choose to follow their own path instead. you see, you see how easy it is for us as a people to be controlled by the concept of horoscope, something that has not been absolutely been proven to be true, but it's based on subjectivity, right? It's based on subjectivity. I mean, then there's articles that goes into being a victim of the Barnum effect, understanding the psychology of generalization, right? So this one came out on July 24th of 2023, verywellmind.com, right? All right, so here it is. I just want to kind of like read this out. You guys can look it up for yourselves. What does this say right here? It says the psychological basis of the Barnum effect. The biggest reason that we are susceptible to the idea that a generalized statements hold meaning specifically to us is because we instinctively seek connection and be part of the larger whole. When we're isolated and disconnected, we don't thrive. Humans are biologically designed to seek out connection with each other and the world around us, say Ratush. In addition to wanting to connect, we are also want to be meaningful. Searching for meaning at its core is what it means to be human. Ratush explains. By believing that a horoscope is speaking about your individual life or that a magician has really read your mind to know what card you choose, we instill meaning into otherwise meaningless events. Life feels most meaningful when it's pleasant, and we tend to prefer believing positive things about ourselves rather than negative ones. In turn, we're more likely to buy into the Barnum effect when it's describing us or our lives in a pleasant manner rather than a critical one. Lastly, Barnum effects enable us to not have to overthink. By design, the human brain resists thinking too hard about most things unless it provokes to think on a deeper level, says Ratush, who adds that when we find ourselves making association with something as broad as a horoscope prediction, the revelation we come to are not based on deep analysis, rather they are the result of how we feel when reading the description. By subverting the need to analyze deeply and in turn believing general statements to be relevant to our lives, we feel connected to others, believe that life is meaningful, and keep our brains from having to work too hard. It's no wonder this bias exists. Look, and see, here's the thing, and let's be honest, that's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to base somebody's personality off of a zodiac sign. It's dangerous because that person may be totally opposite from what the horoscopes say about them. One thing we love to read is about the relationship. So, for example, I done read where it says the Virgo and Scorpio will make good couples, right? Compatible couples. That's idealistic, very idealistic and very subjective, but that doesn't mean in reality that someone who is a Virgo sign or someone who's a Scorpio would be together and start a family or are really meant for each other, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that because there's always a change of heart. There are always going to be problems coming down the long road. Then there's the unexpected that might happen. So you cannot base that information off of what some horoscope tells you because you read it in the newspaper or you read it online and now you're thinking, oh, well, since I'm a Virgo and a Scorpio is my compatible sign, then I need to get with a Scorpio. Not necessarily. You can get with somebody that's a Taurus, and that person that's a Taurus might be better than somebody that's a Scorpio, right? So we got to be careful how we view these things as being factual and absolute because they're not. They're not absolute. All right, so here's another article at your own leisure. Cognitive Biases, The Barnum Effect by Michael Gurion. Okay. All right, so here it is. He did Bertram Fourier, who was born 1914, had a original paper online called The Fallacy of Personal Validation, a classroom demonstration of gullibility. Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Well, here it is. Now, I would go over this paper, but I don't really have the time to, but you guys can download it. Just look up The Fallacy of Personal Validation, a classroom demonstration of gullibility by Bertram Fourier. Okay? So you can look this up on your own leisure and read it for yourself and read how he did the studies and what result did he get from the experiment, etc. So again, he was a psychologist. Okay. But that's the article online. All right. But again, see, this is why you have to study psychology. This is why it's important to really learn how the mind works. So the most important thing that you must know is cognition. And the reason why you gotta learn about cognitive psychology or cognitive skills and cognition is because the process of being programmed, the process of memory. That's one of the key things to cognition is programming. The way to control people is not through physicality, but the mental. That is the way to really control people. So when you get people in the psychological state, right, you got them under control forever. You can control them better psychologically than you can physically. I mean, yeah, you can physically beat somebody behind, but guess what? They'll be rebellious psychologically. Again, you could beat somebody behind physically, but psychologically they're gonna be rebellious. So the first thing to start is the psychology. Get to the mind. So when you get to the mind, you don't have to worry about controlling anything else, because everything else is going to fall into place, because whatever the mind is doing, right, and whatever the mind says, it gives command to the body. I don't think you heard me. Whatever the mind is saying, right, it gives command to the body. So everything else is going to follow the suit because it's all connected. Everything else is going to follow the suit. So you got to remember, it starts in the mind, not the body. Your power lies in your mind, not the body. But your most vulnerability is also the mind, not the body. Yeah, I just got off the phone with a dear friend of mine, and we was having a conversation about evolutionary psychology. And evolutionary psychology deals with the changes over the time period and how evolution brings about influence to the psyche of individuals, of human beings, right? So your biological nature, nurture versus nature, etc., right? So when you got what is nature and then what is nurturing, right? That plays a part into your psychology. You got to understand it. So that's why I always recommend people study psychology before you get caught up in spirituality, because you have to understand humans' behavior, how the mind works, how the brain is wired, and how easy it is to control an individual. If you use sensationalism, emotional manipulation, you got a person under control. Especially somebody who is vulnerable and who don't know anything, have no clue about nothing, who is lost in this world, and they trying to find answers. And they can seek out to an individual who they think or perceive to be genuine, when they come to find out that this person has other motives. And this is a very common thing that is circulated, especially those who get caught up in what you call the conscious community, right? The conscious community has become a catalyst. It has become a catalyst for individuals to profit off the vulnerability of people. It has become a catalyst. The conscious community has become a catalyst for individuals to profit off of people's vulnerability. It's a money grabber. And it's easy for anybody to come up with their organization. So these people study cognitive skills without knowing they study cognitive skills. They have studied the way how to manipulate. They have studied dark psychology. So we might as well kind of put horoscope into dark psychology in a sense, right? I know it sounds like a stretch, but it's really not a stretch. It's really not a stretch. You might as well put it in the category of dark psychology. Why? Because it's dealing with manipulation. and cognitive bias. It's the oldest trick in the game. And anybody can get away with using the Barnum Effect. Anybody can get away because it's easy to make people convince themselves and believe that the reason why you act this way is because of your zodiac sign, which is your zodiac sign has nothing to do with your personality in all actuality. It does not have anything to do with your behavior in all actuality. But before I go, I want to leave y'all with a little something, something, something. This came from Outkast. And I know y'all remember the song for those of you who are a fan of hip hop music, especially Southern hip hop. And for the ATLians out there, you gotta know this song. The song Aquemini. Aquemini. And how does it go? It starts off with the chorus. Even the sun goes down. Heroes eventually die. Horoscopes often lie, and sometimes why? Nothing is for nothing is for sure. Nothing is for certain. Nothing lasts forever. But until they close the curtain, y'all know it's him and I, Aquemini. So it's funny because they combined the concept of Aquarius and Gemini together for their album. That was their third album, Outkast third album, right? It's quite interesting. They say Aquemini, but they also mention in the song, horoscopes often lie. Horoscopes often lie, right? And sometimes why? Nothing is for sure, nothing is for certain, nothing lasts forever. Nothing is for sure, nothing is for certain, nothing lasts forever. Horoscope often lies. Just think about it for a moment. So here's the name of the song called Aquemini, right? Which combines Aquarius and Gemini together. But in a song, it also says horoscope often lies. So Barnum effects can be deceitful and dangerous. It can be fun because you play around with it, right? We play around with each other on a consistent basis, but it's also dangerous and deceitful. But anyways, that's all I have for tonight. So thank you guys for tuning in, watching. With that being said, peace and power elevation. Make sure you check out my channel, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, share my channel. Also check out all my previous videos that I have done. And also, you guys stay tuned for the upcoming show with special guests where we talk about various subject matter. All right. But until then, when the close, let me go back to the lyrics. But when they close the curtain, y'all know it's me, the Virgo. Nothing is for sure. Nothing is for certain. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing is for sure. Nothing is for certain. Nothing lasts forever. Remember that. And horoscope often lies. Horoscope often lies. All right, though. Peace out. Have a good evening. Okay, somebody asked a question. What about the moon sign? Well, what is it? What about the moon sign? What about it? What you want to know about the moon sign? What you want to know about the moon sign? What is it? What's so significant? What's so special about the moon sign? But since you're talking about it, we'll get on there real quick. All right, let's get on there real quick. What is it about the moon sign that's supposed to be so significant? So let's get on it real quick. Let's get on it. Let's talk about it. Well, you know what? But let's break this down. The moon sign will be equivalent to what these folks be talking about, the retrograde and all of that, right? This whole retrograde thing. What's supposed to be so significant? What does it really do? And even if I did tell you my moon sign, I don't know what my moon sign is. But what's so significant about it? How does that impact my life? How does that impact? How does that help me? How does that help me? The moon sign doesn't determine my personality. And the sun sign doesn't determine my personality either. Nature determines my personality. Nature determines my personality. I can't base my personality off of my zodiac sign, whether it be the moon sign or the sun sign. I can't base that. I can't base my personality off of that. You know what I'm saying? I can't base who I am because of my moon sign or my sun sign. Like that in itself, that's vague too. That's subjective. Those two things are subjective. Those things don't mean anything. Yeah, I'm a Virgo, but what does that mean? What does that mean to be a Virgo? What that's supposed to mean? That don't mean nothing. But let's talk about what's the moon sign for a Virgo? What that's supposed to mean for a Virgo? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 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 That does not mean anything. If you want to talk about it, I can show you, but what the hell that's supposed to mean for me? So it says Sun governed by communication, planet Mercury. Virgos are the thinkers of the zodiac. Virgos process information with diligence and use facts to solve problems, right? So Moon. Virgo moons use their calm nature to gain deep clarity on matters, filtering question through their kind but reasonable lens. Rising, ascending. Virgo ascendants are the fact finders and checkers of the zodiac. They are fair-minded and slow to anger. But again, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have no significance. That doesn't have no significance, bro. That doesn't know my time of the birth. I mean, that still doesn't show no significance. That still doesn't help. You saying look up your time of birth to find out your moon sign. That doesn't mean anything. I could look that up all day and it still don't mean nothing. It doesn't mean nothing to me. It doesn't determine who I am at the end of the day. There could be somebody that's a Virgo, like myself, and they still don't have the same personality as me. They could be totally opposite from me. That doesn't mean nothing. But all right, y'all, I'm about to go ahead and log off and just get ready for tomorrow. So y'all have a good one. Y'all be safe. And peace and power elevation. It's your girl Tiffany. And I'm out. All right. Peace. Thank you.